Hello, WebGISers. Today we're going to cover the process of using the command line tools, the gdal or gdal tools that we used in the exercise in class to load one of the feature classes that's in the geodatabase that's in that X for COVID zip that I gave you the link to during class, the 52.10.19.14 software URL. Okay, so to start, the URL looks like this. It's the X for COVID zip that we talked about before that we're going to be unzipping and looking at. And if you do go unzip and look at that, you'll find that the feature class that's inside of it, well, the database that's inside of it is this one right here. It's COVID_DARA.gdb. So that's the database. And then there's two feature classes inside of it. These names you'll need to actually refer to when you want to load the data into the Postgres database from the command line. So you'll do one command that does the COVID cases in per capita, and another one that will do the COVID vaccines, one dose, blah, 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 blah. So in here also, just as another way to help you guys work with the data, there are some layer files that kind of shows you the color schemes that I used, or that a set of color schemes you could use to show off the maps that you're going to be building with SLDs inside of GeoServer. But that is beyond the scope of this particular recording. So I opened this up inside of ArcGIS Pro just so you could see the name of the database and the name of the feature classes that we're going to be loading. Okay, so those are important. It's important to capture the the underscores and everything else that are part of the names. Okay, so I am going to go to my server, my Amazon server, and I'll show you what I've done is I've taken and unzipped that database here into this folder in my downloads folder. And anytime I want to get a path like this path to where this geodatabase is, what I'll do is I'll use the File Explorer part of Windows to get to the folder. But then if you go and you click in the address bar that's up here at the top, you'll see that it expands the name and the path. So the path for me is C:/user/administrator/download/X for COVID. So that's the part of the path that I'm going to need to put into the command line query or command to actually push the data up to Postgres. So let's go look at that command. So this is, let me open this up bigger. So this is the command we used during our lesson where we were doing the sample data set, which was just the detailed counties of Texas, right? And notice, we have information about our host, which is our public IP address. We have information about our user, the database that we're going to be connecting to, the password for the user, the path of, well, in this case, it's the path of the shapefile, the geometry field name that we're going to be using. And if you don't give it one, it'll come up with its own. Also, in this particular case, we've got it set to overwrite. And what that overwrite means is that if it finds a table with that exact name inside the database, this name right here, then it's basically going to clear everything out and put everything that's in your shapefile in place of whatever was there before. You could do another command here that's in a pen command as opposed to the command that we see here, but we're not going to do that. All right. So to do a geodatabase, there's only a few things that are different. Very few. So, and some of these switches aren't they're not like required switches. And so we're going to try it first without the extra required switches. So basically, we're going to be starting with the same OGR to OGR command, We got this hyphen progress. We have a hyphen overwrite, just like the one here. We have the skip failures, and we have this connection switch that is like this connection switch here. And you'll see everything in that part is the same until you get down to the location. And so for the location, you have to give it the name of the geodatabase. Okay. So let's go back to this. I noticed there was a little bit of a problem here that we needed to fix. So that's what I've done. So the way we do these is the name that we're going to give the layer inside the Postgres database has to match the name of the feature class inside of the geodatabase, except instead of having capitals like it does in the feature class name, it has to be all lowercase. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm changing all the uppercase letters to lowercase, but I'm keeping everything else the same. Okay. So far, one of the feature classes, it's COVID cases per capita. And for the other one, it's this. Just basically switch out every capital letter for lowercase in the name of the layer that you're going to get in the geodatabase, and then it will look for the same name regardless of case when it goes to this geodatabase, okay? So if I take and I copy this right here using the localhost command, right here, if I paste that in, all right, when I hit run, you'll get this little message about, hey, this has more than 100 parts. That's because, of course, we have 254 counties. So, and some of those are multi-part counties, particularly near the coast. But don't worry about it. As you can see, it wasn't really slow. It was pretty fast. And to see this, to make sure that it actually did work, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to DataGrip, which is one of the things we installed back on configuration day for the open source. So if I launch DataGrip again, it'll look like this. And when you go to the databases and you open up GeoDB, that's our spatial database, and you open up public and you go to tables, you won't see it at first, but what you have to do is select the tables folder and hit refresh. And when you do that, it'll go back and it'll reread the tables. And then you can see now there's this COVID cases per capita. And if I double click that, I'll see a preview of the table here. And you can see, first off, there's 254 counties. That's good. Or rows, which correspond to the 254 counties. And you'll see that now we have a per cases capita, per cases fatalities, which is what we need to be able to symbolize the COVID cases per capita for our GeoServer service. Also, just to be a completist on this, to go back and see the actual connection to GeoServer, I should be able to go to my web portal now with GeoServer. I'm going to do the one with the IP address instead of the other one. Remember our username and password that we all picked. So now I've logged in. If I want to create a new layer, I go to layers on the left-hand side here, add new layer. I can choose to get something from my geodatabase, of course. And now you see we have this new layer that we can publish. And so I can go through and publish. And then I just have to go back through that process of making sure that I get my bounds from from this and this. There's the different properties. And then I would just add in publishing, I would just add my style information, and then I'd hit publish. So that is how we load a feature class from a geodatabase into Postgres. Now, you might be wondering, am I stuck with the name of the feature class from the geodatabase inside of Postgres? No, you're not. You can actually go through and rename that. There's a way to use SQL to rename your database. It's an alter command using SQL. But for purposes of this class and this project, it's okay to leave them the names that were the feature classes, just with all lowercase letters instead. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.